this then? It looks like a Whirlpool, but it's not. It's a Hisense. It's a WFNA9012, and annoyingly there is no sort of literature on the internet for instruction manuals other than how to install it. So you might want to use this anyway to try and, see what the programs and options there are, and how to use the detergent dispenser and the door and whatever else. Right, so this is sort of Hisense's sort of first machine that they made for the UK and for themselves actually. So Hisense is a pretty fairly new brand and was sort of started being sold in around 2012-13. This is obviously 2013 sort of 14 model because we got current standard on there. Right, it looks like a Whirlpool because it is kind of a Whirlpool in a way. Effectively, Hisense licensed some of the tooling from Whirlpool to make the bodies, the drum sort of. You'll see that in a minute. The door, the drawer. I'm pretty sure it even uses the same motor as well. But then they kind of stuck their own electronics on it, changed the design of the drum a bit. I believe as well it's a split tub, which by this point some Whirlpools weren't, so it was a bit more beneficial in that way. Key differences though, if you look sort of down here, you've got this here, which isn't on the Whirlpool, and that's because the entire sort of front is ever so slightly angled up towards you. It's quite weird as well because like the actual door seal is how it should be. It's symmetrical all the way around in a really weird way. The kick plate is exactly as a Whirlpool, but again sort of redesigned for its body. So it's still got the tabs down here to undo it. Obviously below there is a drain hose and a filter for you. The door naturally comes with a heat shield, just like a Whirlpool, which I've taken off, just like I do with the Whirlpools. Even the door handle up here, apart from these holes, which is really weird, it's so similar, it's unreal. So the heat shield goes all the way around the front here, whereas on the Whirlpool it cuts in like that and goes round. It's really weird how they do it. But it's pretty much a Whirlpool door on there. We've got a 9 kilogram low capacity with an A+++ energy rating, which was the highest at the time you could get. Obviously an A wash performance and a B spin performance because it's only 1200. Don't let that put you off. Actually overall spin performance is pretty good most of the time. I'll explain about that in a minute. Open it is to just pull it, just like a Whirlpool. You're going to be hearing just like a Whirlpool a lot. So again, even inside the door glass bolt is exactly the same. This is exactly the same door catch, even the door lock. Yes, exactly the same. You've got this though on the Hisense, unlike the Whirlpool. So I think you push it in, you turn it, that comes out and that stops the door from being shut. It's a bit like a child lock thing almost, so children don't get trapped inside the drum. That's pretty good. So that's one up for the Hisense then. Right, and we obviously got our sticker there. It is coming away, obviously isn't quite as sticky as it should be. 2200 watts, so I suspect it also uses a Whirlpool heater. Even the door seal is pretty much a Whirlpool one. If you wonder what I'm actually comparing it to, I'm comparing it to this. Look, it's exactly the same. Door lock exactly the same. Sticker's a lot better, but who's paying for a sticker? Drum is basically the same in a weird way, but it's got obviously completely different drum paddles. You cannot get these at all on a Whirlpool. If you look at the design of the holes, they're different. The back's the same though. In Very bizarre. Look at that, it's proper Whirlpool, but then the rest of it just isn't Whirlpool at all. It's almost basically like, at least Hisense have bought the tooling to manufacture the drums, but then decided to put their own spin on it. So I give them credit there for that. Drum capacity, apart from 9 kilo, it's a 64 litre drum. It's not bad. Well, it's alright for what it is. Right, we've got an on-off button here and a start-pause button here. Push on-off. Turns it on. Straight away, first program will always come up is Cotton's 40 at 800 spin. And this is where I was saying about the spin performance. If you accidentally start the Cotton's program without upping the spin, you're going to end up with poor spin performance, since it always defaults to 800. It defaulting to 800 is just proper full-on Chinese. The Chinese have sort of entered our market, which is fine, but then they're sort of doing it their way in a very weird, because I'm pretty certain that all Chinese machines manufactured for China will always default to 800 on their machines. But instead of changing it so it would always default to the maximum spin setting, they haven't. Right. In fact, it's taken Midia up until about 3-4 years ago before they started doing it. Hisense still isn't doing it today, other than on the Cotton Standard program. The Cotton Colour program on the Hisense that I've got, the other newer Hisense, still defaults to 1000. Ugh. Anyway, let's go through all the programs then. So not only does it default to 40 degrees and 800 spin, it defaults to the lowest load setting. So unfortunately it doesn't have any automatic load detection. You have to tell it how much you're washing. It does use a pressure sensor though, so don't worry if you accidentally set the wrong setting. If say, like, it will automatically, you know, not overfill or anything like that. But it is a bit more crucial, I suppose. We're going to test that out properly in this testing video, since it's not actually really done that yet. So we're going to demonstrate on this testing video the cotton cycle, of course, but we're going to put a much larger load setting on for a small load and see what he does. So we've got delay there, and it's delay end, so it's delay end by up to 24 hours. So of course if I hit that now, it will delay and press start. It will delay for 12 minutes and start the cycle. Likewise, if you have a 4-hour cycle, then hit delay, it will start from 4.5 hours. See what I mean? So yeah, there's that. Right. Then we've got load here. So it will come up with L1. If I press it, we got L2. If I up it again, L3. Can you see how it's adding on time? Yeah. So what this does is adds on 5 minutes for each kilogram. The number represents the kilogram of laundry that's put inside. So if you're washing like cottons and you've put about half a load in, or roughly about 4 kilograms, you want to set it to either 4 or maybe possibly 5. So all this does is affects the amount of water in the wash, as well as how long the wash section will last for. The load also doesn't affect any other options or temperatures or spin speeds or anything like that whatsoever. So yeah, there's that. Right. We've also got sound off by pushing those 2 buttons together. We've got our child lock option here by pushing them 2 together. We've got our temperature, which we can go up to 95 and as low as, well, it says 20 dash cold. Basically, if you select 20, I think it still heats to 20. I'm going to test it again in this video in a very weird, bizarre thing. I'm going to fully test it. Now, if you were to have a whirlpool and you set it to 15 degrees, if the water is not at 15 degrees, it will heat to 15 degrees. Right. We've got 40, 60 degrees and 95. Then we've got variable spin. So you can have a slower spin or a faster spin. Obviously faster spin, better spin results. If you accidentally hit start when you first turn it on, you're only going to get 800 spin. It will spin there for a long time, but the performance isn't going to be as good as it could be. So obviously we've got 1200. That's no spin. It will just cancel the final spin, I believe. Then you've got 600, 800, 1000, 1200. Then we've got the options. We've got 5 wash option modifiers. So you have to hit option, it will start flashing like that. Then hit select to select it. It will put a little checkbox there. What eco does, it will delete a rinse and shorten the wash time or something like that. Something along the lines of that. Right. Also, you notice it deletes the other options. So once you've selected eco, you can't have any of the following options. Right. Then we got this option. It's pre-wash. Select it. It will add on a 30-minute, 28-minute, 30-degree pre-wash before the main wash. The little pre-wash light then also lights up here. It's pretty cool as well. If you press start, right, once you've selected your options, the option, once it's in use, will start flashing, right? Then once that option is used, it will go out. So let's say pre-wash is selected, like here, right? It's got a checkbox. The pre-wash lights come up. Once the pre-wash is done, that light will go out, but so will that option. Anyway, we've got this option, that is rinse hold. Again, so this light will remain solid until it's at rinse hold mode. Once it's in rinse hold mode, this will start flashing. We've got extra rinse mode. It will remain solid throughout the entire wash and the first few rinses. The rinse before the final rinse, this will light up, but once it gets to the final rinse, it will go out. Then we've got intensive. Now intensive just seems to flash throughout the entire cycle, regardless of what options you select, and it will not go out through the entire cycle. So there's pre-wash, there's rinse hold, there's extra rinse, which adds on 15 minutes on the cotton cycle, and there's intensive. So that's what Cotton's program does. Obviously made for washing a full load of cotton laundry, and then you just kind of select the options as and where you need. So select pre-wash, for example, if you are washing stuff that is covered in a lot of loose dirt, such as like dust and mud and whatever grass. You can use it to kind of pre-treat stains before the main wash, which will help. You've got rinse hold. Use that if you're kind of leaving your laundry for a while, so that way it will remain fresh and crease free before the final spin. Then you can, when you're ready, come back, put it onto the final spin. You'll do the final spin as normal, and then you can take it out. Use extra rinse to add an extra rinsing stage. So if it does 2, it'll add on 1 and make it 3. If it does 3, it'll add on 1 and make it 4. Use this if you're washing for either sensitive skin, or more particular if you're washing towels. Towels do require a bit more rinsing than normal, simply because the detergent does get caught up in the fibres of the towels. So that's quite good. Or just in general, I think even if you're washing a full load, you might want to add on that extra rinse stage. Intensive has 2 uses. On the cotton cycle, along with the maximum spin and at 60 degrees, it will carry out the standard Eco 60 cycle. Likewise, if you carry it out at 40, it will do the standard Eco 40 cycle. You do have to manually change the load size, say, you know, accordingly for the standard programs. But the other thing that intensive also does is extend the wash, of course. It doesn't appear to extend the rinses or change the rinses though, so don't worry about that. So on any other cycle, whereas it will normally reduce the temperature slightly, and obviously in accordance for the standard cycles. On the others, it just seems to extend the wash. Just, you know, cause you're washing heavily soiled. And that's what it's for. Heavy kind of stains, you know, food stains that need quite a bit more soaking than normal. Maybe sweat and stuff like that. Move on to the next program. We've got Mix. That is made for washing up to 4 kilogram of laundry. Mixed laundry, both cotton and synthetics, both you know, light colours and dark colours, all in the same wash. And as a result, it will limit the temperature up to 40 and no more. That's to stop colours bleeding into each other. Spin speed obviously presets at 800, but it can go up to 12. And we'll do a normal length spin, you know, the same as cottons and synthetics. All your options are available for this as well. We've got Eco, we've got pre-wash, which only adds on 18 minutes as opposed to 28 minutes. And this is the thing, the pre-wash for pretty much of the other cycles that can select it is 18 minutes, other than synthetics and cottons, which is 28 minutes as standard. Extra rinse normally adds on 12 minutes, regardless on most cycles other than cottons and synthetics, which is 15 minutes. Rinse hold obviously never affects the time because it will just run the cycles normal and just freeze where rinse hold is active. Intensive is normally about half an hour, but it can be less on other cycles. I'll just show you. There you go. So there are all the options available for Mix. Yeah. So there's that. Then we've got Quick. Now Quick is made for washing 1 kilogram, because you can't change the load, which means it's only 1 kilogram, of lightly soiled laundry that just needs a refresh. It will preset at 20 degrees, which is obviously cold, and 800 spin. If you want, you can obviously up the temperature, but that will add on time. And likewise, we've got 2 options here. We've got extra rinse, and we've got intensive, which adds on 10 minutes. So I'd say realistically, what you might want to do is a 30-minute, 30-degree cycle. So there you go, there's one for you. We've got sportswear, made for washing 3 kilogram of you know, synthetic sports garments made of like lycra, etc., and all that. Does an interesting wash rhythm. Quite interesting how it does it. Yeah, I won't demonstrate it on this, but you can go watch that. Let's just say you'll be in for a bit of surprise. Max temperature, of course, is up to 40 degrees to protect those garments. Max spin speed up to 1000 for the same reason. You've got Eco option, you've got pre-wash, you've got rinse hold, you've got extra rinse, and you've got intensive mode. Intensive mode looks like it only adds on around 10 minutes there. Silent wash is made for washing up to a 4 kilogram, there you go, of ready mixed laundry. Yeah, this is a mixed program, but what it does, I believe, it lowers or cancels the intermediate spins, therefore adds on an additional rinse instead, hence the 7 minutes longer than normal. And it will still do the final spin as normal. It does preset at 600, of course you can up it. It will preset at 30, you can up that as well. But what it'll do at the end of the final spin is go into anti-crease mode for what appears to be forever. The only way to then cancel that, from what I can work out, is to just turn it off at the on-off button and then turn it back on again. As soon as you do that, then the door lock will start disengaging, so you will then have to wait for the door lock to unlock. It's a little bit Like, it could have been thought out a little bit better. So, like, if it was in that mode and you just press start pause, it would just probably end it and then have the timer running down ready for the door lock. But it didn't, so it's a little bit confusing if you were using this cycle. Anyway, max load 4 kilogram, mixed colours, mixed fabrics. You've got eco. You've got pre-wash, you've got rinse hold, you've got extra rinse option, and you've got intensive option. Now we've got large items. Max lows, surprisingly, is up to 4 kilogram. I say surprisingly because large items is made for washing, well, large items. Pillows, duvets, sleeping bags, cushions, stuff like that. Stuff that you put one big item in to wash. Effectively, it will wash with probably a bit more water, and it does limit the spin as well to 1,000. But what is interesting is the temperature. You can have up to 60. Yeah, that's quite good because duvets and pillows are generally regarded to need to be washed at 60 for allergy purposes. So it covers it there. That's quite nice. Right. We've also got the eco option, if you want. You've got pre-wash, you've got rinse hold, we've got extra rinse, and we've got intensive. So all your bases are covered there. Then we've got Antibacterial 95. Obviously it presets at 95 and cannot be changed. Load size, max loads. Yeah, it's 4 kilogram. What makes the difference between Antibacterial 95 and cotton at 95 is that cotton at 95 will heat up the water to roughly 80-ish or something like that. No washing machine ever truly gets to 95. On Antibacterial 95, it will again get to around 80-ish. The difference is that whereas normal cotton kind of just about get to that temperature before draining, on Antibacterial 95, it will heat up and then sit at that temperature to ensure, full disinfection of laundry using heat. So you don't have to use any chemicals or anything. It will happily disinfect everything using the temperature. Max load, obviously 4 kilogram of cotton. So yeah, but I say this is quite a good cycle if you're washing baby clothes. For that reason. Obviously, spin speed presets at 800, but you can go to 1200 because it's a cotton cycle. Interestingly, obviously there's no eco option, which kind of makes sense. But you can have pre-wash, you've got extra rinse option, and you've got intensive option. There's no rinse hold option, which I found a little bit bizarre, because, there's no sense not to have that option, really. But for whatever reason, they decided rinse hold wasn't a thing. Then we've got drum clean. Now, drum clean, supposedly, you put no laundry in. Your temperature presets at 60. But you can choose to have cold. Why? I can't understand it. Ideally, every drum clean should either be at least 60, but ideally 95. Spin speed is preset at 600, but you can select no spin. Again, kind of why? Because to me, a drum clean doesn't need a spin, but a lot of manufacturers do put it on, and you can't switch it off. This one allows you to, but why? Ideally, it should have just been left and set at 600. There's no need to spin it after. You're not washing anything. Of course, no options for it. Makes sense. Bit of a bizarre one, how it can get set to that low. I've used it a couple of times, but it doesn't do spin washers or anything like that. If it's anything like the later Hisense that I've got, it'll probably just fill up with water for the cool down and then spin it. But I haven't really looked at it properly yet. But definitely during the main wash, it just tumbles as normal. Then we've got spin only. So if you want to respin anything, maybe you've accidentally put it on 800 spin again on the carton cycle again, so you might have to want to respin it to get more water out. You can do, set it to spin, it will preset at 800, so if you want to, you've got to up the spin speed. If you want drain only on this machine, for whatever reason, you just want to drain out the water, maybe in an emergency, stuff like that, turn to spin only, then select no spin. It'll come up 3 minutes, press start, it'll do a drain only cycle for you. Rinse and spin, again, max load isn't applicable. It isn't actually one rinse, it's I think 2 rinses and a spin, so it'll do 2 rinses, obviously final rinse with fabric softener, final spin as a cotton spin. It'll preset at 800 and can go up to 1200. You can add on an additional rinse, so I think that one ups it to 3 rinses. We've got the hand wash cycle. Basically it names it there. Max load 3 kilogram. Basically it's made for washing anything labelled as hand wash only. We've got the eco setting there. Have up to 40. It's 800 spins preset. We can turn it off. We've got pre-wash, we've got rinse hold, we've got extra rinse, and we've got intensive, which adds on 20 minutes. Right. Yeah, basically made for washing stuff labelled hand wash. Put it in, you know, set it, whatever. Then we've got down jacket. Now these is made for washing like outdoor jackets, Gore-Tex, stuff like that. You'll notice there's no rinse hold option here, and that's for good reason. That's to protect the fibres in the Gore-Tex and stuff like that, so it's not hanging around. Max load up to 3 kilogram. Fair enough. Max temperature up to 40, again to protect it. Max spin 600 RPM, which is fine if you are washing Gore-Tex, but it's really useless if you're washing a normal coat. Just holds all the water afterwards. We've got eco, of course, if you want to use that. We've got pre-wash, we've got extra rinse, and we've got intensive wash. Then we've got silk and delicate, and we've got wool. They're both pretty much 1 minute apart. They've both pretty much got the same options, same temperatures. The true difference though is how they work with the water levels and the action. Silk and delicate uses a lot more water, whereas wool will use a much sparser wash action. That's basically the only difference. Both have a max load of 2 kilogram. Both will add on 10 minutes for each load. Both have eco, although silk and delicates is quite a big drop of 18 minutes. Both have extra rinse and both have intensive. Both can go up to 40 and 600 spin. I'll just show you. There's the wool, there's eco. It only takes off 10 minutes. There's an extra rinse, add on 8, there's intensive. Yeah. Then we've got synthetics. So this allows you to wash up to 4 kilogram of man-made fibres such as nylon, polycotton, whatever, etc., polyester, rayon, etc., etc. Max temperature up to 60, which is pretty commonplace and pretty standard for synthetics. Max spin speed presets at 800. Again, this can go up to 12. It's pretty much a mixed load spin. Again, you can have eco if you want and save yourself wash time and a rinse. Just be wary though that generally using eco will only do 1 rinse. So, yeah. Then we've got pre-wash, which adds on 28 minutes. We've got rinse hold. There's extra rinse, and there's intensive, which adds on 40 minutes. So there you go, there's all your options. Right. I'll demonstrate something. I'll demonstrate a few things actually. So we've got our detergent dispenser. This tiny section is if we select the pre-wash option. The centre here is for your fabric softener. We've got the word max written here. So basically, once you get to these holes here, you can't put any more in, otherwise it will prematurely go in. We've got our drawer release here. This gap here is for your liquid dispensing guide, and you know, so you can fill it up with liquid in the dispenser. However, the machine doesn't naturally come with one in the drawer. A Whirlpool will. The Whirlpool normally have the guide either, you know, sat there, and will have a little slot in the dispenser at the back here. But on the Hisense version, despite being a Whirlpool, it doesn't have one. Although interestingly, I've got a Whirlpool here which doesn't even have a guide at all. Max levels, you've got around 75ml for the fabric softener. Max level for the pre-wash is also around 75ml. For the main wash, it's about 400ml. It's quite big. Like if I was to put in 40ml bold here, you see how much it doesn't take up? It'll take on roughly about 400ml of powder. Yeah, the pre-wash is a little bit too small, but bearing in mind, considering you only put around about 20% in for the pre-wash, it's fine, it's adequate enough. So I'm going to turn it on, put it on cottons, put it on 20, let's see if it heats. Let's put it on to level 9, let's see how much it fills up with water. Obviously 1200 spin. I'm going to demonstrate rinse hole for you, and I'm going to demonstrate the extra rinse function. Right. So, what to give the Hisense out of 10 then? Well, you got to remember a couple of things. Number one, it's Chinese. Number two, it's their first entry onto the market. And number three, it's actually cheap. So, you could get all this 9 kilogram kind of A++ energy rating and all that for, and I believe back in the day, back in 2013 or something, 14 like that, it was a, ready? Around £329. That was cheap for a 9 kilogram machine back then. Yeah, so but you know, compared to say a Whirlpool 9 kilogram that was also out at the time, you would have been paying around a good 100 or so more pounds. And I'm going to be honest, you weren't losing out on that. You weren't exactly gaining on the Whirlpool in a lot of ways. Yeah, the motor seems to act and sound exactly like a Whirlpool. And then of course the build quality, which is still just like a Whirlpool, so it's still very well built. Reliability wise, just like a Whirlpool. Unfortunately, the same problems that plague a Whirlpool also kind of plague this in a lot of ways. We'll start off obviously with the fact that the spider snaps and the bearings go on this, and they can go quite easily. That's why they're barely around anymore. I'm quite lucky that this is still around, albeit it can get quite noisy on the final at 1200 RPM. Not entirely sure if it's 1,000,000% stable on the floor. It seems to be. But I think it just needs a tweak here and there. And I think if that tweak isn't there, it can rattle quite a lot. There was also a tiny bit of play in the drum. But when I say play, I mean it's equal all the way around, which is really weird. So it's not like the spider snaps. It's like you can pull the drum forward and push it back. A bit like a Zanussi. I think sometimes that could be what's causing the noise. Because actually, after using it for so many times, there's no difference. It's been used, what, 30 times in 4 days, and yeah, it's still here. It's still working perfectly well. I would happily put this as around 8.5 out of 10, if you're wondering, because of how much you're paying for how much you're getting. You're getting a lot of programs, you know, you're getting a lot of variable options. You can customize the cycle. I like the fact that large items can go up to 60 for duvets. That's good. I like the fact that you can adjust your load size accordingly. So if you are washing, say, something and you want a bit more water or a bit more time, you can. Unlike, say, a Whirlpool, which uses obviously 6 cents and sometimes got the load wrong a lot. So I like the fact it gives you all them options, all them choices. You get a lot of programs, 9 kilogram load, A++ energy rating from a brand new brand that you haven't really heard of. And to be fair, there's a lot of interchangeable parts with the Whirlpool as well. So you could actually use a Whirlpool door if you couldn't source a proper Hisense door. Same with the hinge, same with the door seal. You can even get away with the door seal being exactly the same as a Whirlpool. And I'm pretty sure the heater's near enough the same. Does it heat on 20 degrees though? Oddly enough, no. So while the Whirlpool happily will heat to 15 degrees, if it's below 15 degrees, if the cold water is below 15 degrees, the Hisense won't heat up to 20 degrees if the cold water is less than 20 degrees. So at least there's a bit of a change there. So that's more in line and on par with, say, Indesit and Hotpoint, which if you set that to 20 degrees, they don't heat. I never have. So I'm sticking with 8.5. I know it seems quite high. It is a bit of a rubbish machine. I'm going to be honest, it's still a little bit rubbish. But Whirlpool, consider how much you were paying for Whirlpool at the time, the Whirlpool ranks worse. Quite a lot worse. Because of that reason. Yeah, it was cheap to buy. And the parts, to a degree, were sourceable. At least that was a good thing about a Hisense. You know, Chinese machines on the market, trying to get hold of parts, at least you can get hold of some. But of course then, stuff like the board, if that went, and it could go, I'm pretty sure a lot of these boards blew because of the motor at some points, that, you know, here and there, but mostly from bearing and drum issues. So even if you can split the tub and you can get, you know, you can't really get the parts to, you know, you can't get the spider, you can't get the bearings. They are, therefore, they are slightly changed toward, you know, compared to, say, the Whirlpool. And that's why a lot of these aren't around anymore. They've probably been written off by, if they've either been thrown out because it's uneconomical to repair, or they've been written off because they can't get hold of the parts. I'm going to be honest, this is the second Hisense that appeared in the exact same auction round the corner from me. It's if you go online and you actually put in the word WFNA9012 on Easy Live Auction, there's a previous of the one that I actually nearly bidded on, but because I went up and the drum was absolutely razzed, somebody happily paid £28 for that. Meanwhile, I paid, like, you can find this one and you can see how much I paid for this. Yeah, it was not cheap. But I wanted it. I'm quite glad I've got it. Of course, it's going to be used in a lot of wash races, including a Hisense Generation race. I do want to get a Hisense that's in between this and the newer Hisense that I've got, and then probably do something like that. Since they did obviously tweak it from the second generation, you know, the second generation onwards there a little bit. So it'd be nice to see. It'll be Hisense races. I'll pit against sort of like other Chinese brands at the time, like Haier. Haier were on the market, and Midea. See what their, you know, comparison to them. I'll also compare it to, obviously, and put it in wash races against Samsung, LG, Hotpoint, whatever. It's there, so I'll do it. Fair enough. So you're going to see a lot more of this in the future, both on this channel. There's a lot of cycles recorded. They're going to appear slowly on the Washing Machine TV channel. So there is going to be a link down there eventually. You know, I'm starting to do this now on the reviews. So any reviews you do click on, there will be steadily over time links to playlists where the videos for that machine are featured. Washing Machine TV's channel. So do that. That's everything. So give us a like if you enjoyed this review. Don't forget to comment down below as well. Subscribe for more washing machine content like this, of course, if you haven't done so already. Yeah, we're nearly to 100,000. Let's get there. I would so love to get my silver play button. It's only been nearly 18 years. So thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting, and I'll see you lot in another video. So, bye for now.